I'm doing the world a service, but I'm doing our country a service.
New concerns about the cost of living. Gas prices jumped this week as the war in Iran escalates. Right now, a gallon of regular averages $4.11 nationwide. That's up 12 cents from.
Why is gas $5 a gallon? And like, why do I have to pay rent? And why is rent so high? And why do I have to drive my car and get the gas that I have to get to go to the job that I have to pay for rent? Why do I have to do all of that?
Gas prices across America have suddenly shot back up right when we least expected it. Not long ago, we still believed the promise that gas prices would come down and gradually stabilize. We believed we would be protected no matter what happened out there. But the truth is not being revealed on the evening news. You can see it most clearly in the numbers at the gas station. Thousands of Americans are posting their gas receipts all over social media, and the numbers are hitting record highs. In some places, $5 only buys 1 gallon of gas. And what is even scarier is that the number could change again before you finish a single work shift. So, what happened? Today I am going to walk through the truth with you, using real gas receipts, the consequences we are now dealing with because of an event happening across the ocean and the risks it could still create for our lives. This is a video you cannot afford to miss because your wallet and your family are not outside this storm.
I just paid $95 fucking for fucking gas.
I've put $20 in my tank 20 times this fucking week. I've never touched a gas pump this many times in my entire life. $5 is 1 gallon. 1 gallon. I'm fucking broke. Can we get it together? Can we truly, honestly get it the fuck together?
Even the Flash probably cannot keep up with how fast gas prices are rising in America right now. You can drive to work in the morning, see one price, tell yourself you will fill up on the way home, and then just 8 hours later the price has shot up faster than your blood pressure.
Oh hell no, bro. $3.97? Really? $3.97? Bro, I'm not gonna put no $3.97 a gallon on this, bro. Hell nah. I'm just gonna put like maybe $10. Nah, maybe $10 will get me to the next block, but who cares?
When I went to the doctor, it was $3.95. 1 hour later, it's $4.29.
That price can jump during a single work shift or anywhere along the way as you travel from one place to another. In just 1 hour, the number can shoot up. And of course, it is not because you changed cars or drove farther. Your gas tank did not suddenly get bigger either. You just filled up a few hours later and now you have to pay more. That is the part driving people crazy. The price is not just high, it is moving so fast that wages, budgets, and every plan an ordinary family makes are being left behind. And if this were only one gas station making an unusual adjustment, we could brush it off. But in South Florida, someone else has been watching the same thing happen over a longer period. A friend of mine in South Florida shared that the price had climbed to $3.49. Less than 2 weeks earlier, she had filled up at $2.52. From $2.52 to $3.49 in less than 2 weeks. Almost $1 more per gallon in less time than it takes many people to receive their next paycheck. And the scariest part is that you have no idea when it will rise again.
Okay, so I don't understand gas prices or really how any of this works, but why is gas $4.89 at the Speedway, but $5.69, almost $1 more at this Shell 1 block away? I don't understand this. What are gas prices like where you are?
And that is when the question starts to change. People are no longer just asking, why is gas so expensive today? They are starting to ask how much will it cost next week. But $3.49 or $4.29 are still just numbers on an electronic sign. The painful part comes when that number goes straight into your bank account. Americans do not need an inflation chart to understand what is happening. They only need to look at the receipt on the pump, then look back at a gas tank that still is not full. In the previous video, we saw that buying an electric car is not necessarily a way out of the current situation either, but for people who still drive gas cars, things are not getting any easier. The same $40 or $60 now buys them less mobility. Another friend told me he can no longer afford to choose the better grade of gas for his truck, so he has to buy the cheapest one. Someone else said they paid as much as $5.89 per gallon. That is a personal experience, not a price that represents the whole country. But those differences are exactly what make people even more confused. When nobody knows what price is normal anymore, they start asking each other. I just paid $3.89 per gallon in Pottawatomie County. Please tell me it is not this high everywhere. How much are all of you paying? The numbers can vary from one area to another. New York is paying $4.29. Pennsylvania has also gone above $4. Some places in Arizona are getting close to $5. Then prices of $5.29 and $5.50 started showing up too. In the middle of all those numbers, someone jumped in and said they got gas for $3.39, but only after using Kroger fuel points to knock a full $1 off each gallon. So even when you find a more reasonable price, you have to hunt for fuel deals like you are hunting for cheap plane tickets. These comments do not prove that everyone in America is paying the same price. They show that people have lost something even more important, a point of reference. They no longer know whether $3.89 is expensive cheap or simply the new price they have to learn to live with. They have to ask strangers in other states just to find out whether they stopped at an unusually expensive gas station or the entire market is moving up together. By the time you are watching this video, the price may have already jumped much higher, and I do not know what the number is now. But I do know that when gas prices keep rising like this, every trip starts turning into a math problem. At this point, the solution may sound simple: if gas is expensive, drive less. But we all know we cannot just stop. We still have to go to work tomorrow and next week.
I am not playing today. You better get in that hole. Get in the hole. I need every last ounce. Ow! Get in there, or else I'll tickle you.
It took me $60 to fill up my tank. I don't know how long I'm gonna be door dashing with prices going as high as they are. I don't know how any door dasher is doing door dashing if the prices of gas continue to go up so freaking high, because we burn gas fairly.
The gas station can raise its price in just 8 hours. Your company is not giving you a raise after 8 hours. It may not even happen after 8 months. You are still driving the same car you drove yesterday, still taking the same road you took yesterday, still doing the same job you did yesterday, and earning the same pay you earned yesterday. The only difference is that today's trip costs more. That is why the advice, if gas is expensive, drive less, only sounds smart when the trip is not your commute to work. That is right, the price sign can change, your work schedule cannot, your boss still expects you to show up on time, the factory is not moving closer to your house, the store is not opening another location at the end of your street just because gas prices went up. And before many people earn the first dollar of the day, they already have to spend money just to reach their workplace. Let us say it cost you $50 to get to work last week. This week you drive the same distance and work the same number of shifts, but now it costs $70. Your pay did not change, your job did not change. You did not go anywhere extra, but $20 disappeared. Nobody changed the number on your paycheck. The gas station simply made the amount you actually get to keep smaller. And people who have to drive all day take an even harder hit. An office worker burns gas getting to work. But delivery drivers, rideshare drivers, and food delivery workers burn gas while they are working. Every order means another stretch of road. Every stretch of road means more fuel. Gas prices go up, but the app does not automatically pay more for every trip. They still complete the same number of orders. They still drive the same number of hours. They just have less money left at the end of the day. For them, expensive gas does not just make the trip to work cost more, it makes every hour of work earn less money. And the distance does not magically get shorter. Someone who lives 30 miles from work cannot wake up the next morning and turn it into 15 miles. They also cannot immediately move, change jobs, buy a new car, or demand that a job requiring them to be there in person suddenly become remote. Prices can change overnight. A worker's life cannot. The same 8 hours of work, the same paycheck. But the cost of earning that money keeps rising. Workers do not get paid more because gas is expensive. They just have to pay more to keep earning the same amount. And that missing money does not simply disappear. It shows up somewhere else, and that is what we are about to see next. You just paid your housing costs. You just bought groceries. The electric and water bills are still sitting on the table. Then you stop at the gas station and find out this fill-up costs another $20 or $30. An extra $30 is not going to magically appear in your account to cover it. You pay more for gas, which means you have exactly that much less when you get home. For someone raising 4 children and also caring for a young grandchild, $20 or $30 is not pocket change. She is not talking about canceling a vacation or cutting back on some expensive purchase. She is talking about housing, food, and clothes for the children, things she cannot simply skip because the price at the gas station went up. If she has to pay more for gas this week, she still has to buy enough food for the entire family. The rent is still due on the same day. The children still need what they need. None of those expenses automatically get smaller to help her out. And that is the real problem. Gas is not the only bill that has to be paid that week. Housing, groceries, electricity and water, gas to get to work, all of it comes out of the same paycheck. Housing does not get cheaper because groceries are expensive. The electric bill does not go down because you just had to spend more on gas. Every place still demands the full amount it is owed, and workers have to figure out how to make one paycheck cover all of it. Some families are not buying luxury items, they are only paying completely ordinary expenses, and then almost all the money is gone.
My husband and I are doing everything right. We both have good jobs. I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I work full-time. He works full-time. We just got paid this past Friday, right? We paid the mortgage. Bought some groceries. Put some gas in the car.
Mackenzie is a nurse who works full-time. Her husband also works full-time and regularly puts in overtime. They get paid on Friday. After paying the mortgage, buying groceries, and filling up the car, the family has only about $200 to $300 left by Tuesday. That money has to last until the following Friday. Both adults work. One of them even works overtime, but only a few days after getting paid, they are already looking at the money left in the account and counting how many days remain until the next paycheck. You cannot say gas alone created all of that hardship, but when housing and groceries already take up most of the income, having to pay more every time they fill up makes the amount left over shrink very clearly. This is not a story about people spending irresponsibly. They are paying to live a completely normal life, and a normal life is becoming harder and harder to afford. Then they are told that part of the reason gas prices are rising comes from a conflict happening thousands of miles away from America. And that is when the anxiety quickly turns into an angry question: why does my family have to pay the price for a war I never chose?
Is the Iran war worth higher gas prices? And I will note, this poll wasn't conducted in the last 24 hours, so this doesn't even take into account the most recent peak. Take a look here. 65% of Americans, we're talking 2 in 3, say no, no, no.
You have never traveled through the Strait of Hormuz. You are not sitting in a military planning room. You do not decide which ships get through and which ones have to turn around. You may not even want to hear another news report about the Middle East. But the next morning, the gas station near your home can still make you pay more. That is what makes so many people angry. The war is thousands of miles away from them, but the price they have to pay is right in front of them on the screen at the pump. A family is already trying to figure out whether the $200 or $300 they have left will last until the next paycheck. Now, they also have to follow what is happening in a strait on the other side of the world just to guess how much more their next fill-up will cost. It sounds ridiculous, but the oil market moves very quickly. Oil gets more expensive, shipping becomes riskier, and eventually some of that cost can show up at the gas station. People do not get to choose whether they take part in the consequences. They only get to choose whether to pay with cash or a card. And the distance between the language used by leaders and ordinary life is enormous. On television, people talk about strategy, national security, shipping routes, military power, and long-term interests. At the gas station, the question is much simpler. How much will it cost to fill the tank today? A decision described with very big words can show up in daily life as another $10, $20, or $30 every time you fill up. And of course, not everyone is affected in the same way. Someone who works from home may not have to drive as much. A family with savings may be able to handle a few weeks of higher prices. But what about a delivery worker? What about a rideshare driver? What about someone who lives dozens of miles from work? They did not create the crisis. They do not control the oil market. But the next morning, they still have to fill up and keep driving. And we need to make one thing clear. We cannot blame the entire price of gas on the war. Crude oil prices, refineries, transportation costs, taxes, and conditions in each region all play a role. Every time the price goes up by 1 cent, you cannot simply point to a map of the Middle East and say that is the whole reason. But we should not pretend international conflict has no effect on ordinary people either. When tensions rise at the same time gas prices jump sharply, people have every right to ask whose decisions are making me pay more. At first, people worry prices will keep rising, then they realize there is almost nothing they can do to avoid it. And that anxiety turns into anger. They look toward Washington, not because they believe the president can control every cent in the oil market. Most people understand it is not as simple as turning a knob, but they also remember very clearly what they were promised. Energy would be cheaper, gas would be cheaper, Americans would pay less.
Fertilizer was very cheap, everything was cheap, gasoline was very low.
I'm getting shafted at the pump.
A promise made on a stage cannot fill a gas tank. When people hear a politician say energy prices will come down, they are not thinking about oil reports that are hundreds of pages long. They understand it in a very simple way. Getting to work next week will cost less. Filling the tank will not make them wince when they look at their bank account. But the price sign in front of them is saying the exact opposite, and people have every right to use that same sign to ask questions when the number looks bad. And do not make fun of the people who believed that promise. They believed it because gas prices directly affect their lives. Wanting it to cost less to get to work is not a foolish wish. The person who should be questioned is not the person struggling at the pump. The person who should be questioned is the one who asked for votes with a very clear promise, then left ordinary people paying for the opposite result. And when the promise loses its value, frightening rumors start spreading America is about to run out of oil, gas will be rationed, and prices could reach $10 or $20 per gallon. But how much of that is actually true? On social media, the warnings are spreading even faster than gas prices. America will run out of oil in 3 weeks. Gas stations will be empty in 6 weeks. Fuel will be rationed. Prices will rise to $10, then $20 per gallon. It sounds terrifying. And honestly, those claims make it very easy to get views, but we need to slow down for a moment. I have to be honest, right now there is not enough evidence to say America is about to run out of gas, that fuel rationing is coming, or that prices will definitely reach $10 or $20 per gallon. Gas prices are causing real hardship. The risks from the war are real, and the government's emergency oil reserve is much lower than it used to be. But the situation is already serious enough. We do not need to add predictions that have not been proven. The number people often mention is around 311 million barrels in the United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR. That is the lowest level in more than 40 years and much lower than it was a few years ago. But those 311 million barrels are not all the oil America has left. The SPR is an emergency crude oil reserve managed by the government. It is not all the oil being produced, imported, stored by companies, or moved through the system. And it is crude oil, not 311 million barrels of finished gasoline ready to be delivered straight to gas stations. America is still producing oil every day and remains the world's largest crude oil producer. So taking the amount of oil in the SPR, dividing it by daily consumption, and declaring that America only has a few weeks of oil left is wrong from the very beginning. That calculation would only make sense if the SPR were the only oil supply left. It clearly is not. Put simply, a low reserve does not mean the entire country will wake up tomorrow with no gas. It means America is entering an unstable period with less emergency oil available than before. And that is still something we need to take seriously. Another misunderstanding is spreading very quickly. Higher gas prices are being treated as proof that gas is about to run out. Those are not the same thing. Prices can rise simply because the market is worried that supplies may be at risk. Buyers start paying more to protect themselves against the worst case oil becomes more expensive, and that cost gradually affects fuel prices. In that situation, you may pay $4 or $5 per gallon while gas stations still have plenty of fuel to sell. Expensive gas does not mean gas is about to disappear. On the other hand, one gas station temporarily running out is not enough to prove the whole country has a fuel shortage. It could be a transportation problem, a local supply issue, or a sudden increase in demand. Before we can talk about a widespread shortage, we would need to see long-lasting problems across many regions, real disruptions at refineries, or along transportation routes, and emergency measures from the government. So does that mean we can relax completely? No. The reserve is low. The war could still push oil and transportation costs higher, and the government does not have a button it can press today to make gas cheap again tomorrow morning. Prices may stay high. They may rise even more if the situation gets worse. But there is a huge difference between saying prices could still rise and saying America is definitely about to run out of gas. And the truth is, we do not have to wait until gas stations are empty before we feel the danger. Another type of fuel only has to rise in price to make millions of families pay more, including people who do not use it directly. That fuel is diesel. Diesel powers trucks, farm equipment, and the system that moves goods. When diesel costs more, the expense does not stop with the person holding the pump. It keeps moving to warehouses and stores and finally shows up in the price of almost everything we buy. You may see the word diesel on the price sign and think, my car uses gas, so this has nothing to do with me. But your car is not the only vehicle that needs fuel. The trucks that bring food to grocery stores use diesel. A lot of farm equipment uses diesel. Goods moving from factories to warehouses, then from warehouses to stores, still travel mostly on trucks that need diesel. Put simply, you do not have to buy diesel to end up paying more because of diesel. A gallon of milk does not magically appear in the grocery store refrigerator. Vegetables do not leave the farm on their own and show up on the shelf. They have to be harvested, stored, loaded onto a truck, taken to a warehouse, and then transported again to the store. Every step costs money. When diesel prices rise, the truck still has to drive the same distance. The driver still has to deliver the same load. But the trip now costs more. A company may absorb part of that cost, some may accept lower profits, some may raise delivery fees, and some may add part of that expense to the price customers pay, and people may get hit 2 times. The first time is at the gas station, where they pay more to get to work. The second time is at checkout, where food and other products cost more because they were more expensive to transport. This story began with someone watching gas prices rise by 60 cents in 8 hours, but it does not end at the gas station. Gas prices rise faster than wages. People still have to go to work. Less money remains after every paycheck. A war far away starts showing up in expenses close to home. And even if America is not about to run out of fuel, more expensive diesel can still make the entire economy pay more to move ordinary things around. Americans are not asking for a luxurious life. They only want to go to work, buy groceries, and come home without paying more and more just to keep living the same way they did yesterday. We are not only being hurt by gas prices, food costs, or bills that keep getting heavier. What disappoints so many people even more is that they were promised life would become easier, but that promise still has not become reality. Tell me where you are watching this video from. How much is gas where you live today? And how has that price changed your life? I'm not saying I can help bring gas prices down. I cannot make those bills disappear either. But at least we can be honest with each other, listen to each other, and know that we are not the only ones struggling through this. Subscribe to the channel. I will be back with more painful issues, things that may be uncomfortable, but that we still need to face.